Hi friends, I'm back. It's been a while, hasn't it? So today's video is going to be about haunted houses. What does it mean when you dream about a haunted house? I did a video like over a year ago. One of my first videos was about houses and the meaning of houses, because that is such a common theme in the dreams. And I talked on there about how your house represents, in the dream, represents your life, and the different rooms represent different aspects of your life, right? Now, it's really hard, you guys, when you make these videos to sometimes just to say everything that you want to say, because I feel like I'm rambling and it just goes on for so long. I kind of want to keep it short, right? So, but I did fail to mention in that video, when I talked about the different rooms, the hallway. So there are sometimes dreams where you find yourself in the hallway of your home, of your house. And what does the hallway represent? So you might have guessed it, the hallways, I think, just represent like a transition period in your life. And how, going from one phase of your life to another, a new phase, whatever. And for example, for me, I had a dream about a hallway once, I remember, where there was actually like a bed in the hallway. And I remember waking up thinking, why was there a bed in the hallway of my house? It's so weird. You don't normally put a bed there. And lo and behold, I discovered that it is because, it was such a long transition. It was like I had to rest there for a long time. I had to really deal with this long transition. In my case, it was, I believe it had to do like when a relationship ended, and it took me a really long time to get over it, right? So that's how it was for me. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like a lot of people have watched that video, and I did not mention that. And also, although I believe that the house represents your life, the house can also represent like a situation as well, a relationship, something like that. But anyway, back to the subject. Today's video is going to be about haunted house dreams and what do they mean. And if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you about a haunted house dream that I've had, because I've had a lot of them, But anyway, what does it mean when you dream about a haunted house? So I believe that it means, obviously, that there is some kind of fear in your life. You are afraid of something, right? And it really is alerting you of a fear, maybe a subconscious fear that you have in your life. Some people will interpret that dream to mean that, I wrote it down because I don't want to say it wrong. Some people suggest that if you dream about a haunted house, it means that you are haunted by your past. I am going to disagree with that. I just respectfully disagree, because I think that most of the time the dreams are about your current situation, that you are currently dealing with a fear, or that you will deal with it. I don't know. In my opinion, dreams can be about your past oftentimes if you really have like trauma that you're dealing with, but even still, it's more instructive to what you're currently dealing with, or like prophetic as to what you will be encountering in your life. It's sort of like, and I don't know, guys, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I have read a lot about it and studied it. It's like the brain is constantly trying to work out like the future, like your next steps and what to do from here, right? And so a lot of the things in your past that have been resolved, you're not really actively thinking about that, but you're always thinking about what to do moving forward, because we're made to advance, to move forward, right? So that's just my opinion. But you can, like, if you are haunted by your past, I think it would manifest in a different way other than a haunted house dream. You might dream that you're being arrested, that you're in court, something like that. You're going before a judge. That would indicate some sort of guilt over the past. But anyway, see how easy it is to get off track. I am so sorry. I digress. Back to the haunted house dream. So the way you interact with the haunting is going to be really key in understanding this dream. And it's just basically like, are you completely avoiding this, or are you trying to deal with the haunting? That's what's really important in these dreams. And also somebody else, because I people have reached out to me with their dreams. If there's like a poltergeist and there are objects, inanimate objects that like come to life and start moving and things like that, sometimes they'll even talk to you, right? But if there's inanimate objects like moving around like a poltergeist, it has to do, I believe, with you noticing that this is like a supernatural thing. Like you notice that it's like you're in spiritual warfare and there's, evil forces at work to somehow try to mess with you. They're trying to really scare you and, hurt you in some kind of way. And so you, I think, become aware of this when your spiritual eyes are open, and then there's like objects moving, or I don't know, it's just a message about it that I think has to do with like the supernatural, right? And also whatever objects are haunted, whatever is haunted is a big clue as to where this fear is coming from. Okay, like where does it originate? So I had someone reach out to me and tell me that she was going into a haunted house and there was like this chair that spoke to her and said, "Aren't you afraid like to be here?" or something. And in this person's life, because I know this person, she's been going through a very difficult time for several years. Just some difficult things have happened, and she's just really looking for like peace and rest. And I think that's what the chair represents in her dream. She just wants to sit down and like rest for a minute, right? And it's sort of like this fear of like, am I gonna have to struggle for the rest of my life? Is the rest of my life going to be a struggle? Am I ever gonna have some peace and just rest and comfort? I feel like that's her fear and what she's dealing with. Okay, so that's why it showed up like that, where this chair talked to her. But needless to say, there are other dreams where other objects can be haunted, and those are clues. Think about what's the function of that object, or what does it represent. Okay. So, and also the room, I almost forgot to say this. See how easy it is to forget stuff? Also the room that is haunted is also a clue, okay? So there's dreams, and I guess I'll just use myself as an example about my haunted house dreams I'll tell you about. So my haunted house dreams began many years ago when I think I was in college. First time I ever had, that I recall having a dream like that. I was in college, and in my dream, there was this beautiful, like Victorian home. I think it was Victorian. I don't know. It's like this mansion, right? And I remember dreaming like I wouldn't even go on the street. I would not go. I just try to avoid the part of town where this big, beautiful house was. And so I wouldn't even go on the street. Well, in the dream, I found myself on the street, and I was like, oh my God, I was just dreading the fact that I was on the street with this scary house. And did you ever, like, if you ever watched that really horrible movie, Amityville Horror, don't watch it. Anyway, it was kind of like just so scary. But anyway, this house had this pull, and it was pulling me. I was like magnetically being pulled to this house, and I was trying to get away, but I was so scared that I couldn't move and I couldn't scream. Okay, that's really a bad dream. But anyway, years later, I ended up having the same dream about a house, but this time I'm closer to the house, and eventually I'm in the house, and eventually I'm in the room with the haunting. Okay. But let me explain to you the first dream where I was trying to avoid the house. And I talk about sometimes how when we grow up, right, we create this like false self that we think is us, but it's really not us. Like, we have to discover who we are. And I believe you do that when you find God, or, you know, there's different philosophies on it. But you know, some people, whatever, they get traumatized and they say like they detach from their soul, their authentic soul. But apparently it's common that people kind of create like a false self or whatever. But I feel like that's what was going on with me in that dream, is that I was kind of running away from my true self. You know, I was afraid of really looking at myself and thinking about the really difficult questions of life. Like, what's life really about? You know what I mean? I don't know. I just didn't want to look at that. I was really just wanting to have fun, wanting to have a good time in my life at that time. And I just didn't want to think about that heavy stuff. Okay. So it was like me avoiding the real me. Does that make sense? But I couldn't really escape it. Like, I had to face that. I had to come to a place in my life where I had to confront that. But I was afraid of what that meant, right? And eventually I get the strength. I'm in my house and I'm downstairs and the haunting is upstairs. And I'm like, I don't want to go up there. So then it's like I'm being real, but I'm still avoiding certain parts of my life. And anyway, long story short, the haunting is coming from the master bedroom, right? So I interpret that to mean it was really like my fear of relationships, you know? Relationships are scary, and it's like, oh my gosh, can I really commit myself to a person for life? Am I ever gonna find somebody who really loves me authentically for me and not just, you know, to use me or, you know, whatever. So it was like I was dealing with those type of fears, with commitment phobia. But, you know, not just finding true love, right? So I eventually get into the room and I'm able to discover that the haunting is coming from this piano, like this grand piano is haunted. And that's where I finally get to the root of the fear, okay? And mind you, this has taken years. This is like maybe 10-year period of my life. And I realized that that is what the fear is. And I think the piano represented music is beautiful, right? I think music, like, we think of music, you often think of love songs, don't you? And so I think that that's what it represented, love, like being afraid of not finding love in this life. I think that was what my fear was. And so anyway, long story short, that's something I had to deal with and go to God with and be like, yes, Lord, I'm afraid of that. But then, of course, there's other dreams now, you know, that I've had recently where, you know what, it's no longer haunted. I had to like fight. I had to actually cast out the ghost from my dream. I finally discovered, in other dreams, it was like a person, and I kicked them out. I said, get out, you need to leave. And I put him out. I overcame that fear, right? Mostly, you know, if you have the same type of fear, you have to really come to the understanding that God loves you and that He is love. And so you're already loved. There's nothing to worry about. You know, the people who are meant to love you are going to love you. And, you know, you just eventually accept and get over things. But anyway, that was my experience. And so I came to realize that these haunted house dreams, they're usually about a fear that we have subconsciously. And it's really good if you get to a place where you're strong enough to face it and to deal with it, okay? You don't want to be in that first dream where I was in, where I was like, I wouldn't even go on that street with that haunted house. And again, by the way, the house was really beautiful because it was like, it was like God had this beautiful life for me, but I was too afraid to really even go, be there, face that fear. But I will have you know that my house dreams right now, they're good. There's no more haunting, thank God. And I live in a beautiful home, and my dog's about to bark. But anyway, guys, I hope that's been helpful. I have a friend that's coming over now, so I gotta go. But until next time, y'all, be blessed, and let me know about your dreams. I'd love to help you figure them out. Till next time.